the children whose families are being destroyed, it's not just that individual person. It's the community that's being destroyed as well. The profit motive continues. Only now it's through private industry, trading on Wall Street. We also, of course, have an increase in the number of black women who are being incarcerated. Once again, the incarceration rate, as with the, of course, we talked about before, racial profiling, arrest, trial, charges, sentencing, parole, discrimination, racial discrimination in almost every aspect of the criminal justice system. Even to the point where we know the obvious example of 5 grams of crack cocaine being equal to the, or comparable to the same sentence as 500 grams of powder cocaine. We know when President Clinton increased the number of police, he increased it, but, and I've spoken with enough DAs to know this, but with the caveat that they focus on urban areas. So in the rural areas, in the suburbs, what's happening there? Do we care? Is it a chicken egg thing where we already believe that blacks have this latent ability to commit crimes? Therefore, the increased number of blacks in the last 20 years in the prison system, it all means the same thing. It all works out. They must have done something, as one prosecutor told me. And I am not anti-prosecutor. I don't think everybody in prison is innocent. I am not that naive. But I do know the social scientists have found that whites commit 6 times more crimes than do blacks. So how do the social scientists come up with this data, and yet on the other side we have this disproportionate number of blacks in prison? Black people, at most, are 13% of the U.S. population. Black men, 6%. Yet in most cases, they represent 50% of those incarcerated persons. Yes, we need to figure out what to do in these instances. We need to work on this as though it is slavery, and you're abolitionists. As though it is lynching. As though it is Jim Crow segregation. This is the issue of our time. And I want us to be selfish enough to work on it, as Ida B. Wells-Barnett would have worked on it. I want us to think about Obama, President Obama. This wonderful period of time in which he is in office. But also consider this. When President Obama was just teenager Obama, would we have invested in him? When he was a black kid on the streets of Southside Chicago, would we have seen him and his potential and said he may be the future president of the United States? That's how we have to see these young people. We have to see these women as possible Ida B. Wells-Barnett. We have to see these young teenagers, these males, as possible Barack Obamas. Or maybe just a regular Joe Schmo who wants to just have a regular life. But incarceration should not be the presumption or the definition merely of black male in America. I think about the other people who have received this award, and I am beyond honored to be listed among them. We radicals. I like that. But within this room, there are people who can be radical in their own way, who can make change in their own way. Within this room, we have the bench and the bar and the community and the activists and those people who can make change in the criminal justice system, who can begin to tell others that we don't know who the next Obama may be, the next Ida B. Wells-Barnett. We must, if not in this room, within our 6 degrees of separation, begin to mobilize and change what we've grown used to, which is bad things happening to black people. We must and we can. And it might be scary to be a little bit radical. You could try it on for size at home before you take it out to use it in the public. But I want very much for change to happen in this area. I want to continue my work and join with you to work in changing the criminal justice system to stop this presumption of guilt when it comes to black and brown people. And I want us to lay aside our fear, or maybe feel the fear and do it anyway. But we must make change because, as Frederick Douglass says, and I close with this, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom yet do not appreciate agitation are men and women who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. Power concedes nothing without demand. It never will, and it never has. Thank you very much. This is the award that I received today, the Ida B. Wells-Barnett Justice Award, and it's given to a woman of color who has worked in the area of gender and racial equality. And I'm so pleased to have been given this award. My work has been as a civil rights attorney and one who has worked with gender studies issues as well as multicultural feminism. And I've worked with a number of women's organizations as well as civil rights organizations and community groups. I'm the director and founder of the Law and Policy Group. The mission of the Law and Policy Group is to bridge the gap between laws, policies, and the people governed by them. I'm very honored to have this award. Ida B. Wells-Barnett means so much to me. She was a teacher. She was a political candidate. She was a journalist. She was the one who revealed the horrible foundation behind lynching. Ida B. Wells-Barnett Award means to me to be recognized for my work with gender studies as well as civil rights, to be seen as a woman of color who's on the radical side, and actually be supported for that. And that rarely happens. So I am so honored to be supported and awarded for my work in the community, working with women's issues, black women and girls issues, and also to help people to better understand that they too can participate in this process. They can be a little radical and make change. Change doesn't just happen. And that's why the end of my talk, I left with the words of Frederick Douglass, that power concedes nothing without demand. It never has, and it never will. And with Ida B. Wells-Barnett, a woman who understood that power was something that any one of us could take and wrestle with, and requires us to actually be responsible. It requires us to be a little radical at the same time. And so I'm more than pleased to receive this award today and look forward to seeing young girls be a little radical, seeing young black girls understand that this is an Ida B. Wells-Barnett Award, and they are little Ida B. Wells-Barnett. They don't have to be civil rights attorneys, but they can make change in their own way. Thank you.